And it's also a turning point in history, because from using simple tools, burning wood, using water and wind power, steam energy, to the discovery of fossil resources and developing of new technologies like nuclear power, humanity saw a steady rise of energy consumption, and in parallel a steady rise of productivity and output of human labor, while at the same time reducing labor time and improving our living standards and creating our fantastic modern civilization. So it's the first time in human history that the current elites are trying to turn this dynamic on its head, forcing people, societies, entrepreneurs, industries to use less energy and at the end coping with stagnation or regression. Where should this end? I think it will not work. I mean, there's still a lot of fantastic research also going on still in Germany. You wouldn't believe it, but it's really true. And developments are also going very quickly. If you just look back, last week I was laughing with my wife and my daughter, she's now 25, children's nurse, and we were remembering the times only 30 years ago. What did you do when you wanted to know the exact time? You pick up the phone, and in Germany you dialed 0118, and then the people told you the exact times. My daughter didn't want to believe it, but just illustrated to us, you know, how quickly things have gone and still are going. The question for this last session is, has the time come for a more radical rethink of the European Green Deal? And I just follow from what Bill and other people alluded to. Yes is my answer. It's a crystal clear yes, and I think there is no option to that. If we want to get on economically and protect, and not only protect, but expand our living standards. A lame duck economy and a lame duck society can't provide the ideas and the innovations which we need. We are currently in a dead end, and we have to turn around. Additionally to the technological topics, I would like to add another argument, which I think is much more important and fundamental, why we have to break that thinking. Because we are, for decades now, already in the process of ripping us of all cultural and all intellectual resources to deal with all kinds of challenges, including climate change. Why do I say that? Because I'm witnessing that now for more than 20 years, nearly 30 years in Germany, with all its consequences. In the core of promoting the European or the German Green Deal and the predecessor concepts, the elites and many NGOs and media carry a deeply anti-humanist message, which has already poisoned our political and cultural life. Mankind, Bill alluded to that, particularly our ingenuity and creativity has brought us up to where we are now, here in that room in Brussels and elsewhere, in the civilized, in the modern, in the prosperous Western world. The recognition and the appreciation of these skills and attitudes, even after history, has given us again and again new confidence. Our curiosity, our aspiration helped us to overcome the limitations for a better world. So mankind, with its many big brains, proved to be the planet's problem-solving species par excellence. The current climate change narrative instead presents mankind as the biggest problem facing the 21st century societies and planet Earth. This outlook is the strategy for real disaster. Today, eco and climate anxieties are being promoted every day with very negative messages. Human beings are destructive, they are destroying everything, and the message that follows from that is lower your horizon, don't expect too much, forget about the continuation of this tremendous success story of humanity. Climate alarmism is driven by the idea of limitations elsewhere. Energy, technology, any resources, even, if you would ask around, even limitation of water living on a blue planet. This alone is pure ideology. And through this prism, we today celebrate rather low-tech solutions for so-called modern energy production, and we condemn high-tech, like nuclear power, nuclear fusion, as being too risky and just morally wrong. So we have systematically, and this is very obvious in Germany, cultivated fears as a predominant outlook. National governments arguing for that new narrative is going to be hard work. I found it quite telling, follow the discussions in Germany about the US under new President Trump. And like in the EU, also the US, we should remember that, have been for decades on the forefront of promoting and implementing a very misanthropic climate change agendas. But now Trump taught the world an inspiring lesson, I think, which in Brussels or in Berlin hardly any official wanted to hear. He spoke out and put his conviction into practice that there is no alternative to whatever topic you deal with. More positively put it, he demonstrated to the world in politics there is and there always should be room for rethinking, for readjusting, for correcting and adapting to new circumstances. A rather banal message, I think, which was a shock for many in Brussels and Berlin. Some people in Germany also showed spontaneous sympathy for Trump, or Milei even in Argentina. The typical reaction in our country was when Christian Lindner, the head of the Liberal Democrats, in early January at the start of the election campaign, he just stated very carefully, we may learn something from the new US government or from Argentina. Only putting it like that, he immediately was attacked and smeared from all sides in mainstream media and politics and civil society, even from within his party. And this is exactly what we hear from mainstream European elites. There is no alternative to the narrative. Please don't question that. So I don't want to repeat too much or talk about too much economic data and go into details, but I just want to throw in a couple of things, because what I find striking and frustrating is a lack of the level of ignorance in the political debates. So I don't want to panic. Germany is still prosperous, it's still a great country, still on the top ranks of the G7, industry output, trade figures, all that. But we are living in a shrinking economy. It's probably this year the third time in a row that we are in recession. And we have a deindustrialization process going on. We lost to a large extent. Capital is always very flexible. It's going to the places where the profits are maximized. It's going to other regions. And very important for Germany is, and I know that from experience, we don't have any planning or investment security anymore. So today, and you have a number of examples you could list, it's very, very few banks, financial institutions, or companies are prepared to put a big deal of capital into Germany. So the level is not only, I think, striking if you look at the economic data. The same happens, and this has been raised here and then, when you look at what has been achieved with climate change mitigation. The CO2 reduction on a global level, this whole mitigation policies have not worked as it should have worked, and it will not work in the future. For a simple reason, you can't ignore global trends and the mechanism of a global market economy and dreaming about an island Europe which would function after complete different systematics. Though the global energy demand is projected to grow in the next couple of years, up to 18%, maybe 20% in 2050. And even if we are optimistic, we are now on 80% of fossil fuels giving us the energy we need. Even if we're very optimistic, in 2050, fossil energies are still expected to account of 50 to 60%. And if you just then look at Germany, I mean, this trend is going on. We need more energy, we will produce more energy, many reports are that. Germany instead is on the forefront, closing its eyes, very narrowly minded. And even if you look only at Germany, if we'd say we go that way, we are only responsible for about 1.5% of the global CO2 emissions. So even if we would completely deindustrialize, this would not make a difference. And it's very easy to understand what's going to happen if that path is being continued. Leading economies will continue to use highly efficient and much cheaper resources. The gap between competitive and non-competitive countries will grow, and regions like the EU and Germany will get into real trouble. This is obvious if you look at the fact, but what has been the political answer so far? Instead of now saying, oh, okay, let's rediscuss that topic, the answer is a politics with a crowbar, we call it, a Brecheisen, you know, is a big piece of metal where you break in wars. By putting up taxes over taxes on energy consumption. So the Green Deal is being pushed through completely independent from what the facts are. And this is, has been raised today, what the European emission trading system is all about. And especially in Germany, there's a clear shift in the discussion. In 2019, when the European Green Deal was launched, it was really celebrated in a positive way. It was celebrated as the green industrial revolution to come, based on highly efficient renewable technologies, which simultaneously would spur economic growth and prosperity and solve all our problems. Now it's clear this doesn't work. It's not efficient. And as a result, now the discussion in Germany has really clearly spoken out, shifted to the idea that we have to consume less energy. To put it mildly, I think this is a very interesting experiment, maybe the biggest economic and social experiment since Stalinism tried to build its socialism in one country. And it's also a turning point in history, because from using simple tools, burning wood, using water and wind power, steam energy, to the discovery of fossil resources and developing of new technologies like nuclear power, humanity saw a steady rise of energy consumption, and in parallel a steady rise of productivity and output of human labor, while at the same time reducing labor time and improving our living standards and creating our fantastic modern civilization. So it's the first time in human history that the current elites are trying to turn this dynamic on its head, forcing people, societies, entrepreneurs, industries to use less energy and at the end coping with stagnation or regression. Where should this end? I think it will not work. So finally, I want to just touch one point. Why is it then that Germany and why is it that the EU Commission are so hesitant in these days just to open up a discussion on climate policies? Where does this unwillingness come from? And I think the answer is rather simple. Just ask yourself for a minute, in which political, economic or cultural spheres was the EU Commission in recent years really successful? Where was it able to build up trust, to build up confidence, to build up support for itself? Where did it shine? In what topic? Honestly, the much I would have loved to see as a European, a strong, a convincing, a forward-looking, future-oriented Commission, I can't really think of any such a sphere of concrete politics. So I don't want to sound too negative, but my feeling is the way we deal with climate change today really has become the main source of moral authority for the EU Commission and for coherence inside the European Union. Maybe it's the only source which is left. And instinctively and or partly consciously, they're the big fear in elitist circles. You see that in these days in the German election campaign. Nobody wants to touch, none of the mainstream party want to touch that topic. If the Green Deal's going to break away, what's going to be there to replace it as a moral basement for the regional, for the national elites, and for the EU Commission? I think the elites themselves, they don't have a clue, and that is why instinctively they stick to their alarmism. But this is a very slippery slope, we know that. Not only because it doesn't work, also because we penetrated our societies now for many, many years with this misanthropic worldview, which in the long run is not practical for inspiring or managing a society. I was reading found a report from 2019 from Carnegie Europe, which said the climate crisis could make or break the European Union. So in 2019, Carnegie at least dealt with that topic politically, and I think it was looking into the future quite well. Today we see that the climate crisis the anxiety about that is, and the reluctance to give up the narrative is the moral source of authority which nobody is there to touch. So what can we do about it? I think I've made it clear by now. I personally would very much welcome if this intellectual and moral framework is being opened up. So my main concern is, in this respect, to break up this anti-humanist mindset which has poisoned our societies and which is paving the way for further economic and cultural decline. This outlook we currently have is fostering our malaise by promoting the idea that the future of mankind can only be an energy-saving variant of the present, not more. Of course, we have to engage in the economic, in the technical, in the political discussion and how we should respond to climate change, but we should not forget to argue for a new cultural mindset, because, just to use a quote from Peter Drucker, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Culture also eats innovation capacity for breakfast, technology development, our readiness to explore new things, to take risks, to build a better world, and finally to deal with all kinds of challenges in a progressive humanist way. So we all, and especially young people, should have much higher aspirations and expectation for the now and the future. So I would love to see many more people demanding we want more, we want a better living, we want an unlimited energy supply, plus a sustainable, peaceful and democratic future. And we should really reject these apocalyptic fantasies which dominate our societies for many years now. Yes, there are challenges, but this is not new and spectacular for humanity. We just need a lot of fresh brains and deal with them. So let's continue our discussion we have here today and speak up. I think we all have the responsibility to speak up and spread the word. Thank you.